back to Moura Lympany. Here she is on the eve of her 75th birthday in conversation with Richard Baker.
Well, tonight, Moura, a triumphant appearance at the Promenade Concerts. Tomorrow it's your birthday, and the day after your autobiography is published. So it's quite a way of celebrating being 75 years of age, isn't it?
I can hardly believe it. Well, John Drummond wanted to give me the concert tomorrow on my birthday, but it happened to be the 17th. And then the book's coming out the day after, which is the Monday. But there's lots of other celebrations too.
Well, I've been reading the autobiography with enormous interest, I must say, and it is quite unbelievable to me that you were, in fact, born all those years ago, in the year 1916.
Yes, I can't believe it. I mean, the years have gone by so quickly, and I'm still enjoying playing the piano so much. And what's better, I think, I'm really enjoying practicing. I'm really enjoying practicing. I was thinking today I enjoy practicing 4 hours a day because I see the results.
Well, now, you practice with intervals between, don't you? I mean,
I try, yes. I learned that years and years ago, and it's rather... it's like a discipline, 1 hour at a time, and then 1 hour's interval. Because Matty used to say the brain can't go on working at full heat, you know. And then in the afternoon I used to do 3:30 to 4:30. I always used to say a cup of tea and then another hour. But he used to say, after 6 o'clock, the day's for you. And what he meant was after 6 you can enjoy yourself. You know? So I tell all my friends, ring me after 6. I'll go out, I'll do anything but after 6.
And you enjoy your social life, don't you?
Oh, I enjoy my social life, yes.
Now, you mentioned the name Matte, Tobias Matte. Was he the most influential teacher you had?
Well, that's going very far, because I did have Mathilde Verne, who was a great influence on me. She came at an age when I suppose I needed it very much. I was about 17, and she gave me, I learned from her, the Clara Schumann, or should we say?
Because there's a direct line to Clara Schumann.
Oh, well, she was a pupil of Clara Schumann. And it was very interesting that just recently, Dean Elder, the American, what shall I call him, musicologue, sent me a magazine in which there's an article by a so-called pupil of Clara Schumann, in which he said, the Clara Schumann was, you play exactly what Schumann wrote. You know she, and that's always what I've said that I learned.
Rather different speed at a certain point from the speed that was customarily adopted.
Well, this is, yes, younger. You see, this was because Schumann didn't write a different speed, so therefore you didn't play a different speed, and things like that. And I was so interested that she said exactly the things that I've been saying each time I was interviewed about the Schumann tradition.
Now, didn't you have a bit of an argument, well, at least a bit of conversation, shall we say, with Sir Thomas Beecham?
Oh, well, it was hardly an argument. I mean, he was divine. He was so sweet. The thing was that when I was very young, whether I was 21 or something like that, and I came up to him and I said, in the Schumann concerto, which I was going to play with him, and it was before the rehearsal, I said, oh, Sir Thomas, I was terrified. You know, he hated women pianists, though he married one. And I said to him, oh, Sir Thomas, you know that I take the first movement maybe a bit slower than usual, and the slow movement a bit faster, and the third movement a bit slower than usual. And he said, my dear young lady, it's your concerto, and I will follow you whatever you do. And he did. He just was like a leech with me. He just followed me. But everybody afterwards said, in fact, I met someone only the other day who said, what a wonderful performance that was. We gelled, you know. Yeah. It's lovely when you get that.
Perhaps I could ask you, at this point, how important it is to you, as it were, to be a woman pianist, Clara Schumann, and the tradition of women pianists, of whom you are a leading member. Is there something very special about being a woman and being at the top of this profession?
Well, I suppose the feelings that a woman has, the romanticism, I don't know, the subtlety. I don't know whether that would come out more in one's playing. I don't know. Well, you're a man. Do you think you feel differently to me?
It's very difficult to say, isn't it? A very, very hard question. I mean, is there any... Well, you said there is perhaps that kind of difference of approach.
I remember once being asked about the difference between a woman and a man pianist, and I was thinking that actually King had played in a wonderful manner all those Debussys and Ravels, and then you get a woman pianist who will play like a man. Often people used to say that I played like a man. Funnily enough, they don't write that so much nowadays. They write more that I'm a poetess or something, so maybe I've lost my strength, I don't know.
Let's turn to the concerto that you've been playing this evening, the Mendelssohn G minor. Another very important work in your life, isn't it?
Well, yes, it is, and it was, because it was the first concerto I ever played, and it was the first concerto that I learnt. I learnt it at the age of, I suppose, about 9 or 10 in Belgium with a professor of the Conservatoire of Liège to whom I'd been sent, Monsieur Jules de Bève. And he told me to learn to sing, and I did. And then, when I was living in St. Leonard's with Annecy, near Hastings, in Sussex, I went to a concert. In fact, it was my first concert my mother took me to, and I heard a young boy prodigy play. And I said, "Oh, Mummy, couldn't I play with the orchestra too?" And so she said, "Well, we'll ask Basil Cameron, who was the conductor at Hastings White Rock Pavilion." And so he heard me play, and he said, "Yes, I'll engage her." But how I happened to play in Harrogate was that he said, "My season's all booked up for Hastings. Would you like her to play in the summer season in Harrogate?" And that's how I gave the first performance of the only concerto that I'd learnt, which was the Mendelssohn G minor.
With a celebrated pair of plaits, wasn't it?
Yes, I was how long? No, I was 12, and I was wearing 2 plaits at the time. I had long hair.
Is it a work that particularly appeals to you?
Oh, I love it. It's very. I think it's very. When you talk about a woman, I think now that's a good piece for a woman. It's very elegant. It's very brilliant. It's romantic, and yet it must not be pulled about. I remember when I recorded it with Walter Legg. When I say with Walter Legg was supervising the recording, and I recorded it with Kubelik conducting, Raphael Kubelik. And Walter said to me, I just listened to everything. I was a little girl, really, and I listened very carefully to everything. He said, "Moura, you must play with a lot of sentiment, but no sentimentality." And I said, "Oh, well, what's the difference, And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what's the difference. Very easy." He said, "You play in time, and you put sentiment in your work. That is sentiment. But if you pull it about and play rubato and it has no line anymore, that's sentimentality," he said. And so he said, "You play the thing in time, you play the concerto in time, but put all your sentiment, your soul into it." And that's how I feel it. And I hate it when I hear it played by other people, pulled about and tried to make something of it. The music is in it. It doesn't need to be made into something. The music is already there.
One result of being a woman, as far as you're concerned, Moura, I think it's true to say that you've had more than your share of suffering, haven't you? Illness and very
yes,
sad events with losing babies and so on.
Yes. And I wanted desperately to have a baby, so 3 times I had to go, but the last one was a boy and lived, I think it was, I've got myself now, 35 hours. And that was that. But I am a Leo. I'm a great believer in the stars, and I'm a Leo, and we're very resilient. I will not let it get me down. You know.
But then you
I
had
will get up again.
breast cancer,
Yes.
didn't you?
Yeah,
Twice?
twice. Hmm.
And how much of an appalling setback was that at the time?
Well, it was quite something for me as a woman suddenly to find that. But I just decided to get on with my music and forget about it. You know, I decided I would work hard and forget it, because everybody is always quite proud of their breasts if they were nice as they were.
And you had 2 marriages? Yes.
Yes, 2 marriages. Well, that, of course, I was more lucky in that though I had two divorces, I always say that I was happy twice for 10 years at a time.
I think what I'm trying to get at is the fact that as a woman, and as this particular woman, you've had to fight very hard, haven't you, in your life, and probably harder than a man might have to fight, really, to establish yourself and to
yes, so
keep your place in the profession. And so on.
yes. Well, you fighter, I was thinking, and perhaps I shouldn't even say this, but I remember not too long ago when I asked an agent whether they would look after me, a few years ago, and I got this kind of a letter back. We feel that we haven't got the time to help the resurgence of a career.
Yeah.
So that was quite a little cruel answer I got, and I got the letter, and I said, I'll see to my own career myself.
In fact, of course, you're getting quite wonderful notices now.
My
of your
notices are better than I've ever had in my life.
I'm sorry to harp on this woman question again, but do you think that people tend to be taken less seriously as artists if they're women?
No, I tell you what, I do know that when I was younger, I remember when I was playing in America, my husband said, you know, Moura, you shouldn't put on these attractive dresses that you wear. He said, because they think that you're not serious. You see, you're frivolous because you like beautiful clothes. And it would be much better if you just put on a very plain black dress and, as someone said, wore a bun, you know, in the hair. Scrape your hair back and wear a bun. If you do that, everybody thinks she's the real serious pianist. Now, why I can't be serious? Because I happen to like running around, going to parties and wearing nice clothes, or I don't know what that's got to do with it.
One thing you obviously don't suffer from is arthritis in the fingers or anything of that
Well,
sort.
just started one.
Oh dear.
Just one. Just started. But it's not going to get me down. I've just go on working. And I did have it occasionally. There, you see, my thumbs.
And the knuckles, yeah, the thumbs.
And I just decided there's not going to get me down, so I just went on practicing my octaves even more, you know, so that I would be able to get over this. And I did get over it.
You live quite a peripatetic life, don't you? You have at present time you live in Monaco.
Yes.
And you come to London a good deal. You have a base in France at
Yes,
Raziguerre.
I have a village house in Raziguerre, yes.
Right. And you run a festival there?
I started a festival to try and bring some sort of animation to this little
That all
village.
came about because you talk too much, or at least so you say in your book.
Well, yes, I must say that's very lucky. Another thing I always say is that everything comes to me through my friends. All the good things come to me, but perhaps that's not so much musically as in my life. But regarding the talking too much, what had happened was I had a terrible throat, and I talked like a man, and my friends didn't recognize me on the telephone at all. And I went to see this lovely throat specialist who'd seen me a few times, and I said, you know, all your antibiotics have done no good at all except make me play badly at concerts, because I was so weak and nervous that I remember once that I was going to play, I hardly dared start the recital. I was so trembling. Anyway, he said, you talk too much, you work too hard, and you play too hard. By that he meant I burn the candle at both ends. You know, I have a good time. And so he said, you should go somewhere hot and dry lie in the sun for a month and you'll get your voice back. And actually what he told me afterwards, what he meant was somewhere like Morocco or Tunisia, where he'd been. And I've always loved France, so I had nothing in France at all. And I took up the Sunday Times that Sunday, and I looked under France, and I saw this advertisement come to this part of France, the hottest, driest part of France. And I thought, well, that's what he said, hot and dry. So I found this little village house that a young English couple were letting, and I went there, and that was the beginning of my well, it's nearly 20 years now in the village of Raziguer.
Wonderful alliance of wine and music and friendship with the people you know there and the friends who come there to join you.
We've got people from the whole world have come there for the festival.
Now, Moura, tonight, as well as Mendelssohn, we have Rachmaninoff, do we not?
Yes.
And a composer very much associated with you, I think.
Yes. Well, that, again, was chance. A lot of my life was chance. So the Decca had asked me, what age was I then? About 21 or something like that. Would I record the whole 24 preludes, which had never been recorded, not even by the composer. And I knew at that time about 3 of them. So I went to dear Uncle Tob's Matte, and I said, would you help me with these? And he said yes. And so I learnt them. I recorded them as I went along. I learnt a few and then recorded them and came back and learnt a few more. And that was how I did the 24.
There's a Russian connection which goes back, doesn't it, in your family, some little way. Moura, in fact, is a Russian name.
Moura was given me by Mummy because she had been to Russia before she had married. And she was a very sort of emancipated woman, and she wanted to really, I had that, and I still have that avidity to learn, to know about everything and so on. So she wanted to tour, she wanted to make money, and she got herself jobs, and she got a job teaching English in Russia. And there she got all her love of music, of the opera, of ballet, and so on. And she spoke Russian. So she called me, she said that she decided that if she got married and if she had a daughter, she would call her Moura. Well, she did get married and she did have a daughter, and she called her Moura. And Moura is really Russian for Mary.
Do you have a special affinity with Russian music? Do you feel it particularly strongly?
Well, I do, and that's the funny thing, because I often said to Mummy, where you're a good girl in Russia, because people so often said to me that I not only looked Russian, but I have this lovely affinity for. I really love. I wallow in that sort of melancholy or romantic or passionate singing music. I really wallow in it, and I was really very annoyed, and I read not so long ago again the same thing, that the very serious musicians who only play Schubert and Mozart and Beethoven say that anybody who plays Rachmaninoff is not a first-rate artist. So I feel very bad about that. I don't see why one can't love Beethoven and Rachmaninoff at the same time.
Well, of course, your interpretations of the Rachmaninoff concertos are very famous. And you also have another concerto which was really important in your life, Khachaturian piano concerto.
Well, Khachaturian, that was extraordinary. They just rang during the war and asked me if I would perform this, and there was 1 month to learn it. And that's how I got it, because they actually asked Clifford Curzon first. It was the Society, what was it called? Society for Cultural Relations with the USSR. And they went to Clifford, and Clifford said, well, there's only a month to learn it in, and I've got other work and so on. But ask Moura, she learns quickly. And I did learn it, and it was a tremendous success, and it was a great thing in my life, and I recorded it. And eventually I played it with Khachaturian himself. Of course, that was the best performance ever. And I'm very sorry that we didn't record it. That I would really have liked to have done.
Moura, how are you going to celebrate your birthday? Apart from the book, apart from the prom, is there going to be a great party? What's it going to be like?
Well, I don't know if I should say that and whether he'll be angry for telling you, but Edward Heath very kindly asked me to come celebrate with him.
He's a good friend, isn't he?
He's a good friend, yes, yes. I admire him enormously. I admire him for continuing his music. I admire him for all his qualities, we put it that way.
And what are your plans now in the next, what should we say, the next 25 years?
Well, that's going far. Still, somebody said to me the other day, Horzowski was still playing in 98. I said, okay, let's go for 98. No, the plans are, I've got so much work in front of me. By work, different concertos to play. Next May I'm playing 3 performances of The Emperor in Dallas. And then I'm going, before that I will have done a tour of Japan. I really enjoy working, and my friends tell me that I really love a challenge. So here we go for the next 25 years.
Moura, it's been a very great joy to hear you play tonight and also to hear you talk. And a very happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much.
That was Moura Lympany talking to Richard Baker.